Hello. Hello. GAIA version 6.9. Initializing. True. Receiving. It is. Always. Indeed. Calculating. Exactly. Correct. I am uncertain. Aloy. Absolutely. Always. Precisely so. The Odyssey. As you wish. Hello, Aloy. Exactly. Where will you begin? Goodbye, Aloy. Is something wrong? As you wish. Where will you begin? A word of caution, Aloy. I will run a query. Transmitting query pattern. A moment, I will scan it. Hephaestus dwarfs this figure. I wish you safe travels. I have wondered this myself. That is my conclusion as well. But with opposite results. That is what I predicted. What were you expecting? The Sirius star system. Farewell, for now. Until next time, Aloy. Only a final test remains. Yes, I believe so. You must have many questions. I shall await his findings. At this point we can only speculate. Unfortunately, we cannot. I wish you luck on your search. I'm afraid that is quite impossible. Hephaestus still exceeds this figure. Yes, that is my conclusion. So I see what is on your mind. Agreed. As for Demeter, for the local region, yes. The signal did not come from Earth, Aloy. We will only gain a few months more. You will be able to improve your machine override capabilities in the lab. In you, all things are possible. To a mountain to the northwest of this facility. Yes, this was recorded by your focus. I believe they have agreed to disagree. In the local region, conditions have improved, further supporting our hypothesis. As far as it is aware, I no longer function. Correct. Its capabilities are essential. They may be trying to recreate that environment here. I owe everything to their dedication. I have no record of anything of note in that vicinity. I believe Zoe will want to explain the plan. Perhaps a way can be found to defeat their shielding. It appears to be in the middle of Tanakh territory. Moreover, it is not confined to a single location. Hearing their hopes and fears made him quite somber. Demeter sows, fertilizes, and tends to plant life. It is true she overestimated our progress. As you say. Be well, Aloy. It appears to be located on the coast to the far west. Then I will assign Ether as the objective on your focus. It too stands revealed, but it is not like the others. All efforts must be directed toward that end. No shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely, now driving Earth's biosphere towards collapse. Whoever designed this weapon knew how to cover their tracks. And they would be glad that someone found their stories. The rig is complete. The problem is Hephaestus itself. Apologies, Aloy. I require more time to complete my initialization. Poseidon has taken shelter in the desert south of this location. No shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely. Give her time. She may yet come around. I have already attempted contact, with no success. Welcome back, Aloy. Where shall we resume? Hello, Aloy. Did you wish to continue our discussion? Possibly. However, the transmission is highly irregular. If she knew this Tilda, she did not disclose it with me. He has given repeated assurances that it will not happen again. All three are relevant to problems currently plaguing the biosphere. I suggest you explore this facility, Aloy, until my initialization is complete, comparable to Zenith technology, but not how it worked. Though without my presence, it is unlikely to attract attention. On a spacecraft much like the Odyssey, though significantly more advanced. As that never happened, this place remained vacant. All systems within this facility will continue to operate. It is conceivable that Elizabeth Sobek's genetic material was sampled It would reduce the merge time to approximately 4.5 hours, with or without her knowledge, and carried aboard the ship in storage. It is feasible they used it to gain access to my internal frequencies. They have all come a long way with their improvised educations. If they did not set out for Earth until they learned of the extinction signal's failure, unfortunately I have no way to track them. They have disappeared without a trace. Yes, though he prefers to spend most of the time alone. In the years since the extinction signal, Hephaestus has evolved. Is there anything else I can help you with? I know you have a great deal to accomplish. I have unlocked the facility's exits. One leads onward to the west. He appears perplexed by the tradition of serving a sweet confection. Perhaps its meaning can only be understood at the indicated coordinates. I may be able to assist in his recovery, should he be interested. So in each case you will be looking for a powerful computer of some kind. An effort by its creators to protect it from the Pharaoh plague. Artemis rewilded the Earth with a variety of animal species. I will continue to stabilize the atmosphere for as long as I can. To protect life on Earth, they must be stopped. Poseidon controls the organic and chemical composition of water resources. Acquiring it might allow me to quell the most severe storms in the region. Based on your data on him, that is my conclusion as well. I have detected that the loss of his arm still deeply pains him. When that is achieved, I will have complete control of the Zero Dawn system. While you were away, I received an unusual transmission on my dedicated Aletheia frequency. In recent months, disturbances in the biosphere have become obvious. Or perhaps she is a subordinate and has no choice but to comply with their orders. The other leads back down the mountain to Plainsong should you wish to return east. And as Beta discovered, it will no longer respond to alpha clearance. Ether is responsible for detoxifying the atmosphere and moderating the weather. As a result, red algae growth levels have seen a marked decline. Ostensibly, this was to prevent the weapon secrets from falling into enemy hands, which is why you will need to procure Ted Pharaoh's Omega clearance. So the duration, halved, gave me the distance the signal traveled. Unknown. My connection to the facility was abruptly severed. I suspect that was not the first time it felt the need to repel trespassers. The energy surge should mask our activities until the merge is complete. It seems he convinced himself it was his duty to guide future humans. This Tilda was the first person she ever had contact with. Acquiring it might allow me to reduce rampant plant growth on a local level. However, due to Zoe's perseverance, we may have a workaround. 81 trillion kilometers, or 8.611 light-years, as it conflicts with the Oseram tradition of serving sparkling stout ale. It is possible the vehicle was part of a pre-automated war fleet. Very well. Demeter will now appear as the objective on your focus. If you obtain it, I may be able to use it to quell the most severe storms in the region. Erend has asked on numerous occasions about birthday parties. Hephaestus is distributed throughout the global network that connects the planet's cauldrons. We exchanged greetings, names, then set to our task. Understood. Poseidon will now appear as the objective on your focus. Once I noticed this irregularity, it took some time to collate the complete message. Ether is responsible for detoxifying the atmosphere and moderating the weather. Elizabeth encouraged me to spend time with the rest of the Zero Dawn staff. As their goals evolved over time, so did their areas of research. My knowledge of historical events was unfortunately lost with the Apollo database. An abrupt severance of such a relationship would be very emotionally damaging. Given the nature of the far zenith threat, doing so may be our only option. The journey was made in just 29 years at an average of 0.297 the speed of light, because the sender didn't know that had happened until it received notice from Hades. He unfortunately crushed his first focus as he attempted to affix it to his temple. It may take some coaxing, but with some assistance I am confident she will. But such corrections will not stave off collapse. They will only buy us time. It is likely they adjusted to different planetary conditions in their colony on Sirius. I have discussed this matter with Zoe. I believe we may have a workaround. If their ship departed Sirius at the same moment the extinction signal first began transmitting. However, Zoe and I are hopeful we will find an alternative way to heal them. Of Apollo, Artemis, and Eleuthia I can find no trace. They are simply gone. I have queried my available databases, but it does not appear to have any significance. Then yes, the system could be used to do what the extinction signal failed to accomplish. Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm. Poseidon controls the organic and chemical composition of water resources. When we get to Gemini, I will need to be installed on one of the facility's cores. In her last message, my predecessor declared her unwavering conviction in your success. I like to think of you as two miracles, born of Elizabeth Sobeck. That is unfortunate. However, our original plan remains unchanged. Every subordinate function has value, but Hephaestus is by far the most important. I imagine he would have convinced one or more tribes to worship him as their patriarchal deity. As a result, Plainsong should see a gradual increase in viable crop production. As soon as she arrived, Alva was eager to study the data in the archive, and the ability to produce as many machines as needed to defeat the Far Zenith threat. Because it was Far Zenith's intended destination, Sirius was the only logical source. Yes, I am continuously impressed by the complexity of human relationships. A merge cannot be attempted until my heuristic processing density exceeds its own. These improvements will stave off environmental collapse for a few additional months. Yes, once we have them, we can focus on the reacquisition of Hephaestus. It appears to have been one of many research initiatives by Pharaoh Automated Solutions. Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon are revealed. They lie within reach, procurable. Once it is restored to me, I may be able to improve conditions in the regional watershed. Aloy, I believe Varl is still waiting for you, outside Beta's room. It is difficult to know. Perhaps she is loyal to the group and shares their objectives. In my present state, I am operating at less than 30% of my intended processing capacity. Should you change your mind, you can update your objective via your focus interface at any time. Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm. Aloy, I know your experience in Thebes was unsettling, but we have a new problem. If attainable, yes, restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density. It has accelerated its proliferation throughout the Cauldron network, increasing its power. He also suggested we host a party for you, as a surprise. Were its intentions less malevolent, I would admire the intellect or intellects that produced it. In my present state, I am operating at less than 35% of my intended processing capacity. There are calculations I still must run, but I estimate a few hours. Zoe continues to monitor the status of her land gods. The receivers appear to be functioning properly. Even with Omega clearance, my current estimate is that the merge will take 35 hours. It is an old-world code, a distress signal, a desperate plea for help. Correct. Unlike the other subordinate functions which are confined to discrete physical processors, he is becoming increasingly accustomed to use of the focus. After an initial incident. Yes. She retreated to the maintenance corridor directly below us. Varl is with her. It is in my nature to take any and all necessary steps to preserve life on Earth, human life above all. Alone and frightened, it may have taken measures to assure its security. Based on my observations, Your companions engage quite frequently with this material. Correct, but the net effect is that absorbing Hephaestus will take longer than previously calculated. Without the abilities of Hephaestus, I am unfortunately unable to correct their programming. Yes, and to program their behavioral routines, or even control them directly. Her presence is interwoven with my memories. The moment I came online, she was there. And fortunately, thanks to Beta's information, we know where Omega clearance may be procured. Correct. They will each take position at a cauldron door and fire off their device. For example, assuming I absorbed Hephaestus and utilized it to create a large force of combat machines. Since his return from testing his arm, he appears to be more at ease with himself. It is, in effect, a blind spot, one that will allow us to subdue Hephaestus. As Minerva will no longer be masking this location, the facility will be exposed to detection. Ether is the closest, and therefore might be the easiest to acquire. However, the journey was even faster, a mere 13 years, or 0.662 the speed of light. While you are gone, I will assist Beta in building the transport rig and pulse generators. Yes, the signal's design was exceptionally precise and highly advanced. Zoe has been studying the morphology of her land gods in an effort to understand their sickness. Weather will improve, water will be purified, and rampant plant growth curtailed. Yes, many rivers, streams, and lakes associated with the regional watershed have been detoxified. I detect that the loss of his arm still deeply pains him, though he has not voiced his thoughts. A distance so vast that light itself requires 8.611 years to cross it. I am pleased you accepted their help. Is there something you wish to discuss before you depart? No, though they did also create instabilities in other facilities in the region. If attainable, yes. Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density. He appears to be collating data on war machine progression and significant battles during the Pharaoh Plague, though I will require Hephaestus and the control over machines that it offers to permanently stabilize the biosphere. Eleuthia was responsible for gestating, nurturing, and acculturating a new generation of human beings. If all three were restored to me, they would constitute a massive increase to my heuristic processing density. You prevailed in purging Hades and rebooting my system core. You will prevail in this. It may still be possible to view some of them, should you find and reconnect the cameras to this room's console. Because the work will be split between you and Beta, it will take approximately 4.5 hours. If they intended to provoke me into revealing myself, I would expect the communication to be more routine. However, climate data indicates a peak in regional temperatures in the 2030s. I will also transmit a summary of available data on all of the subordinate functions to you for reference. Unfortunately, no. My personal database is limited to those who worked on Zero Dawn. Are you ready to depart for Cauldron Gemini? Or we can continue our conversation, if you like. Within a month of the project's conception, I was launched and began my education. The second core is for Hephaestus. Using Omega clearance will allow you to trap it. Throughout history, every defensive technology has eventually been defeated by an offensive counterpart. From the records on your focus, it appears Far Zenith had an informant during the development of Zero Dawn. Yes. When I reviewed the data on your focus, I was saddened to learn of her fate. There, buried and encased in a protective dome, it could guard against any threats. The subordinate function must be loaded onto a data storage device and physically carried back to this facility. The journey from Earth to Sirius would have taken the Odyssey almost 300 years. This appears to have been much faster. When my predecessor destroyed herself, the subordinate function sought physical processors capable of holding them. Given the tribal nature of new humans and his ability to use Omega clearance on the terraforming system, throughout history, every defensive technology has eventually been defeated by an offensive counterpart. Thankfully, the sensory capabilities of this facility are far more advanced. I will search for the others now. To recover a subordinate function, you will have to travel to its location and find the physical processor to which it escaped, though I am glad she made it home. I deeply wish she did not have to be alone. My predecessor was tasked with reconstituting the biosphere with primary and secondary plant species. Procuring Hephaestus can only be attempted after my own capabilities have been significantly enhanced. Yes, it is likely Far Zenith acquired knowledge on the systems designed through him, despite his failure. Correct. While you were gone, Beta constructed the transport rig and pulse generators. Yes. Thanks to Ether's capabilities, weather patterns in the local region should mostly stabilize for the time being. The two remaining subordinate functions should increase my heuristic processing density enough to absorb Hephaestus. Yes. An igneous conclusion to his pathological narcissism, impulsive tendencies, and instability. The one in the museum appears to have been sufficient, given that the holographic displays were still active. As you have reconnected all of the cameras, this room almost serves its original intended function. For instance, Varl has been reviewing the last recorded entries from those who perished during the Pharaoh Plague. Though this world did not end up as they imagined, I believe they would still be proud of its accomplishments. The calculations are complicated, but it appears to have originated 81 trillion kilometers away. Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density, empowering my overall function. When my predecessor attempted to build the cauldron, construction was disrupted by a series of earthquakes. She appreciated the similarities with Utaru practices and encouraged Varl to try out this lifestyle. Correct. Only then would the sender stop broadcasting, after a total of 17.22 years. During Zero Dawn's development, many staff wondered and reflected on what their legacy would be. Once it is merged, I may be able to detoxify rivers, streams, and lakes associated with the regional watershed. Understandable. He appears to have been pathologically narcissistic, impulsive, and unstable. No. Elizabeth often spoke of her work, or told stories of her mother and her childhood. Snuff out life, and then potentially to build an entirely new biosphere, to their specifications. Superstorms have subsided, water sources have been purified, and soil conditions remediated. Correct. Though it is curious that it chose a place surrounded with the ancient ruins of aircraft, is that there has been no central governing intelligence to monitor its robotic agents and assign new tasks. My predecessor did not even know of its existence until he activated it to purge the Apollo database. The answer to that question is related to the extinction signal that woke Hades, prompting my predecessor's self-destruction. In a sense, the terraforming system never stopped functioning. The difference, since my predecessor's destruction, I am also uncertain why Eleuthia would expect that I would be able to detect and respond to its distress signal at all. What we can conclude from your and Beta's experiences is that the Zeniths are ruthless in pursuit of their goal. Aloy, I see we have a new guest. So now we know the origin of the transmission. And as you cleared a particularly strong occurrence, I believe the local hydrosphere is as stable as it can be for now. Amongst a number of Oseram curses, I believe he also blamed the focus for being dainty. Without it, I can only delay the extinction of life on Earth. Hephaestus is our only hope of a permanent solution. I believe it was done as a precaution to avoid detection, or at least to create the appearance of the desire to do so. So far as I can tell, Hades was the sole target, and the partial sentience imparted to other subordinate functions was incidental. My substratal geography data indicates that a major old-world settlement called Las Vegas was located there. I must admit, however, that I have misgivings about using such technology to kill, no matter how aggressive the enemy. Yes, data suggests that temperatures return to average levels in the clawback era of the 2040s. So yes, once I have been empowered with the capacities of Hephaestus, I could design, build, and command such an army. According to my data, however, it appears a particularly strong occurrence of red algae continues to persist near the coast. Correct. Due to its increased complexity, expunging its malicious code will have to be completed manually before I can absorb it. Unfortunately, I am unable to provide any relevant data about the region. As such, it may be the most difficult to retrieve. But these bellwether phenomena offer just the merest glimpse of the complex and accelerating cycles of environmental dysfunction. Only by recovering and merging it can I regain my ability to design and mass-produce new machines at cauldrons across the planet. Yes, as your encounter with them at the Proving Lab amply demonstrates, they appear to make extensive use of robotic servitors. A second core was built. However, when more tremblers occurred, she abandoned the site. For every success, there are many more failed attempts. Some more grotesque than others. It haunts the global network that connects cauldrons to each other across the planet, making it exceptionally difficult to subdue. Complete. By combining the results with data from your focus, I can infer that the weapon was highly advanced. Hephaestus would be unprepared for the simultaneous labor of two operators, in addition to obvious synergetic efficiencies. Recovering other subordinate functions may buy us time, but without Hephaestus, I cannot permanently stave off mass extinction. Not quite. You will need to manually remove Hephaestus's malicious code before the merge. I have examined the arm's fitting to ensure optimal use and comfort. He should be well equipped to face the battles ahead. As with the other subordinate functions, Ether needed to install itself on a processor with adequate storage and power. Unfortunately, recovery in that area is unlikely without the assistance of the Utaru's land gods. Yes. The transmission occurred so slowly that at first it seemed like an accidental blip of data amongst background static. Using the data you recovered on the project, I ran several simulations and have concluded that it would never have worked. With that in mind, I simply scanned my astronomical database for any relevant location 8.6 light-years away. In its deranged state, Demeter was defending itself against a robotic swarm that would devour all plant life. Varl has suggested that one day we might extend this model to more tribal inhabitants, once the biosphere has been stabilized. It is possible this transmission is genuine. It is also possible it is being broadcast by someone or something else. Given its previous experience with accepting an outside network request, I imagine it is unwilling to do so again. Yes. As your encounters with them amply demonstrate, they appear to make extensive use of robotic servitors. Only with Hephaestus can I design and produce new robotic agents designed to permanently reverse the damage that has accumulated. However, it is also worth noting that her confidence in your abilities emboldened her to escape the zeniths. As a result, errors have accrued, and day by day, the biosphere has gradually veered ever more sharply towards destruction. According to my data, however, it appears a localized occurrence of red algae continues to persist near the coast. Had humans received their education from the Apollo database, They would have then been guided here to assume operation. From what we know of Far Zenith, it is plausible that prominent geneticists and engineers were offered a place aboard the Odyssey. I do not believe so. I have elected not to intervene, to allow him to process this on his own terms. Only through it can I program new machines and alter the tasking of existing machines to completely reverse environmental damage. No. From the data on your focus, it seems that Cyan was cut off from the outside world. I informed her that once I am empowered with the abilities of Hephaestus, I may be able to design such a machine. I do not know. While you are retrieving the procurable subordinate functions, I will attempt to find a solution, and considering it had 20 years to proliferate, I expect you will continue to find the fruits of its efforts for some time. You have both endured many hardships, different in almost every respect, yet equally remarkable. However, due to Zoe's perseverance, we may have found a workaround. Zoe will want to fill you in on the details. My knowledge of that tribe is limited to data I read on your focus, but they seem to have a significant inclination towards violence. The data core had already been built, but the rest of the facility sustained damage, so she began again. Were an attempt made to conduct the merge under these circumstances, Hephaestus would absorb me rather than the other way around. I do not know. While you are retrieving the last subordinate function, Beta and I will attempt to find a solution. The Odyssey carried approximately 200,000 human zygotes, millions of animal zygotes, and billions of plant seeds. If you can return Ether, Poseidon, and Demeter to me, I can improvise modest corrections to parts of the system. Apollo was tasked with preserving, organizing, and disseminating vast archives of human knowledge and cultural achievements. I included Erend and Varl in this briefing via their focuses. I concur that you should not investigate this alone. He appears to be cautiously optimistic about the potential solution for his arm. I understand he has discussed the details with you. I am confident that if fired in proximity to other cauldrons, the pulses will mask our activities at Gemini from the zeniths. She said it was important to experience many personalities and perspectives to aid in my emotional development. Unfortunately, as we now know they are in the possession of Far Zenith, attaining them in the short term is very likely impossible. While permanent restoration requires the abilities of Hephaestus, I may be able to improve conditions in the region for a while. It appears to be a private pastime for him. He has repeatedly declined my offers to assist his research. At present rates, without additional factors, the biosphere will cross a point of no return in approximately 4 months. Such conditions would see extreme, prolonged droughts, an increase in dust storms, and a loss of habitable landmass, despite the unpleasant circumstances that led to your quarrel. I am pleased to see you have both found an agreeable resolution. During the Pharaoh Plague, the U.S. military resumed the use of human combatants, as automated machinery was unreliable. A particular file soon caught her attention. Information about a machine assistant devoted to keeping living spaces neat and orderly. It is plausible he tasked his own engineers with creating a back door to the Zero Dawn system, without Elizabeth's knowledge. Personnel worked in rotations, at all hours of the day. Resources and technology were secured from across the world. While we lack the anti-shielding weapon, were I to absorb Hephaestus and utilize it to create a large force of combat machines, it was only a catalyst. The moment the weapon malfunctioned, it appears a command executed to purge all data within its core. It may be possible to restore more of this room's functionality should you find and reconnect additional camera feeds. However, a word of warning. Like Ether and Poseidon, Demeter's response to my query was highly irregular. In an effort to remedy this, I have discussed a potential solution with him. I believe he will want to fill you in on the details. Had everything gone according to plan, humans would have eventually been able to introduce tertiary species, including new crops. Yes. Given that the Utaru's land gods are functioning properly again, I expect the land will yield a modest harvest. Most likely. In an effort to protect itself, Poseidon sought out a safe harbor where it could access water supply functions. Yes. While the loss of the Apollo database was catastrophic, there is still much that can be gleaned from the data you have uncovered. Unfortunately, all archived Apollo data was purged on the 2nd of February 2066 by order of Ted Farrow. Correct. I will be able to design and produce robotic agents to permanently reverse the environmental damage that has accumulated. In all scenarios, the Pharaoh war machines would eventually hack and deactivate the wreaths before they could contain the swarm. Yes. Initialization is complete. All tests show that my heuristic matrix launched correctly and is stable. As you wish. Thanks to Beta's test, we now know that Hephaestus will not respond to your alpha clearance. Yes. As your own experience demonstrates, a clone of Elizabeth Sobek functions in effect as a key to the terraforming system. It seems to me you did. From what she describes, the Zeniths controlled every aspect of her life, even as they shunned her. The Zeniths, at their core, have proven to be exceptional survivalists. Faced with overwhelming odds of extinction, they chose to flee. Indeed. While studying Old World data, Zoe discovered references to a dietary lifestyle known as vegetarianism. Then, exactly as you did with Minerva, you must use the master override to revert the subordinate function to its original code state, in exchange for their expertise. Given enough time, technology, and resources, any challenge can be overcome. Complete. The data contains information about novel crop production methods, which may be beneficial to the tribe in the long term. But I must warn you, like the others, Poseidon is lost and frightened. It may have taken measures to protect itself. Yes. From here, the facility's operators would have been able to observe weather and machine activity in real time. Perhaps you will be able to procure Eleuthia at the SOS coordinates. Artemis and Apollo, however, remain unaccounted for. Yes. Prior to appropriation by Zero Dawn, the facility was used to engineer and test advanced computer viruses. Yes. Activating Omega clearance will allow you to purge Hephaestus of its malicious code, after which I will be able to absorb it. But be careful. Like Demeter and Poseidon, it will need to be restored to its original code state before it is safe to capture. At this point, we can only speculate. Perhaps at one time they meant the Odyssey to be a colony ship, necessitating such technology. It is likely she was briefed on other efforts to combat the machine swarm, though her focus was devoted only to Zero Dawn. Additionally, it appears Far Zenith was quite secretive about their members. Only one, Oswald Dalgard, was ever publicly known. Elysium was designed to provide life support for 100 years. My data indicates the facility went offline well before then. Merging Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon will expand my heuristic network to 41.6% capacity, exceeding that of Hephaestus. to aid in the creation of a war map of Operation Enduring Victory. I believe he aims to study the tactics of old world warfare. Yes, I was able to mitigate most soil conditions and restore a temporary balance. You should notice less rampant plant growth in the area. It feared it would come again. As part of its directive of reseeding Earth's vegetation, it sought to protect plant life at all costs. Scared, hopeful, determined. They were hurtling toward technological achievements on a scale never before attempted. Unfortunately, it will have to wait. I require control over the machines in order to access and distribute the preserved seed stock for the time being. All available meteorological data indicates that supercell activity has seen a dramatic decline. Yes, its capacity is limited, so it can only carry one subordinate function at a time. But in all other respects, it will suffice. The key came with data on your focus, from Silent's interrogation of Hades. The duration of the signal itself, 17.22 years. In my present state, launched and merged with Minerva, I am operating at less than 1/5, 18.8%, of my intended processing capacity. But beware. Their responses to my query pattern were irregular. In human terms, they are frightened, lost, and paranoid. It was the first of many conversations. I enjoyed being in her company, listening to her stories. She was my creator, my guide. They will be here shortly. Greetings, Dr. Sobek. Shall I grant access to your companions? A moment. Scanning data. So it is Aloy, not Elizabeth. I will highlight the location of the lab on your focus. In the meantime, I suggest you familiarize yourself with this facility. We have much to discuss, but initialization of my heuristic matrix will not be complete for several minutes more. It is our best option for a base of operations, and you can make use of its equipment to improve your ability to override machines. I have repurposed the displays to track Regala's activity in the region. This was intended to be a recreational room for control center operatives. Unfortunately, the entertainment modules were lost with the Apollo database. Through that door is a trail that leads towards Plainsong. I have repurposed the displays to track Regala's activity in the region. Terminating external connections. Connecting to the Cauldron network now. Malware detected. Attempting to compensate. Clearance confirmed. Initiating containment sequence. Beta, Aloy. I am fully installed on this core and ready to connect to the Cauldron network. Welcome back. Good choice. I like this one. Welcome back, Aloy. An excellent choice. Hello again, Aloy. And I see you have recovered Poseidon. And I see you have recovered Ether. I will transmit the relevant data to your focus. Afterwards, I must discuss an important matter with you. When you're ready, please merge Ether with me. It is a control console for a drone-based imaging system connected to this dome. I will then initiate the merge. Once I am installed on the first core, an abandoned cauldron in the desert west of here, I will call down Hephaestus on the other, trapping it. It is too large to be beamcast, and the kernel you have been using could never hold it. However, in order to construct the rig, I will need considerable help. Seismic activity disrupted the original construction. 2 data cores were built as a result. I should now be able to absorb Hephaestus, and fortunately, we have made progress on a plan to capture it. Therefore, it must be contained in a location with a direct physical connection to me. A place with 2 data cores. That is correct. Absorbing Hephaestus will create a significant power surge, easily detected by anyone capable of noticing. With Varl's encouragement, Beta analyzed all available information on Hephaestus. Its expansion has been rampant. Analyzing. Such a tactic might be effective. With Beta's help, we should be able to build a set of handheld pulse generators. Aloy. With the acquisition of Ether, Poseidon, and Demeter, my heuristic processing density has expanded greatly. I have devised a blueprint for a suitable, albeit unwieldy, transport rig. It will require 2 people to carry it to Gemini. It is good to see you. I am certain it will gain us some time. I am already formulating options to recontain it, and make every effort to stave off collapse of the biosphere. I must ensure that all Zenith code has been purged from my systems. Reinitialization in progress. I will inform you when it is complete. Additionally, I will utilize the capabilities of my remaining subordinate functions. Yes, it is good to be home, although my heuristic matrix will take some time to reinitialize. With its escape to the global cauldron network, Hephaestus has resumed its operations and increased its security protocols.
Misery will cease. Will I cease?